Hey guys, welcome back. It's grimreaper connect you for another video for Raidshadowlegends. Hopefully you're looking after yourself and a positive start to the week wherever you are in the world. Okay, so today we're on my account, and in today's video we're going to be doing a tier list for all of the mythicals. I think it's about time that I did another tier list. You guys know I'm very popular in P versus P aspects of this. I also do quite a bit of P versus E content as well, and clear all that as well. So today I wanted to go through all of the mythical champions in some way or another. I have experienced pretty much every single champion, pretty much every single mythical champion in raid at some point of using them. So today we're going to be mainly focusing on all areas of the game, not just rating them how good they are in the P versus P. So let me go ahead and get up my tier list and whatnot. So here is the tier list. We have now 29 mythical champions in the game. We are including the new champion as well down here in the Dark House. I couldn't find a portrait for her, so I had to just take a little screenshot and slip her in here. So I'm going to go through all of the tiers in today's video. So we got SS tier, so champions that are very good in the arena, the top end of an arena, but also the top end of P vs E content. And then we've got S tier, which will be a content where maybe the one champion is SS tier in one big content drop like Chimera, Hydra, or something like that. It's really good, or arena, and we'll also go with that. A is going to be very strong mythical. I wouldn't be too disappointed if I got them, and again a sell in a couple of areas in the game. We got B, which are meaning useful mythicals, mythicals who are slightly underwhelming, who potentially still need a slight buff. And then we have C tier, which basically means mythicals that most likely you would end up throwing in the vault and probably not using anywhere in the game. So obviously all these mythical champions, they're going to be down to my personal experience on takeovers, personal experience of me using them in game, and also like how much I've kind of faced them as well. And a lot of these mythicals I do own myself, and is kind of a interesting way to look at it. So going on this, it's going to be basically all my personal opinion. You can agree or disagree with me in today's tier list, and then let me know down in the comments why you agree or disagree with my decisions, and also explain why you kind of disagree with my decisions. So let's get into it then. We're going to start with Tiosa. If I say any of these names wrong, I'm not doing it on purpose. Unfortunately, I am dyslexic, so I will get a few of these names wrong overall. So we'll start with Tiosa. She is a unkillable revive champion, very similar to Duchess. She has a speed aura in all battles for 25, has a really cool healing ability here. She has a cleanse on the A2 with a perfect fail stone skin, as well as a AoE unkillable for 2 turns, giving more HP and whatnot. And then she also has a really strong block debuffs and decreased defense, and a strip ability with AoE decreased speed and a sleep debuff. And she has like a mini A1 that's just really cool. She has a lot going for her. She's very well known for arena and Hydra, Chimera, Faction Wars. She is pretty amazing in everywhere in the game, if I'm being honest. So for me, in my ranking, she deserves to be SS tier. She will be the first champion joining the SS tier. Now, don't get me wrong, I think most of these mythicals will be coming into SS tier and S tier. She's one of the best 5 arena champions in the game, in my personal opinion, and she's just really a massive powerhouse across the board. We have Calamitous, which is also in her faction as well. He's a super strong damage dealer with a Chimera ability here, which is makes him absolute SS tier in Chimera. It was recently buffed as well. He does have a AoE here, which puts up a unkillable buff on him, which is really useful. And so yeah, is a really nice ability. Then he has his own increased attack and shield buff, and then obviously he has a block AoE, decreased defense on Hydra. He ignores life barrier, poison cloud, and also ally protection. He's got a really strong ignore defense mechanic, and he is absolutely a powerhouse for both content. He's really good in Grim Forest. I've got him on my account. I've been using him a ton in Grim Forest with all the utility he brings. He's also been used in my faction wars, and he was a game changer in my faction wars as well. So for me, he's a very strong champion. He's a fairly strong damage dealer for arena as well, depending where you are in the game. So, you know, if you're in game like me, you're not going to be using him much in arena. But I think if you're late game or anything underneath that, you're going to be using him as your arena nuker as well. So he is pretty strong, and I think that I'm going to have to put him on the bottom of SS. Sorry, put him on the bottom of S tier, because his arena presence is not that good. As an in-game point of view, he is strong for arena, but not as strong as some of the other mythicals that were mentioned today for arena. But he has got essentially high damage threshold on him in other areas and PvE. And so for me, he does go at the bottom of S tier. Most likely will be at the bottom of SS tier when this is finished. And for sure, he's definitely a champion that you want to be taking into Grim Forest if you have access to him, because the utility he brings and just mythicals there, that would be quite useful. Now we're going to be talking about Now next. I think Now is very acceptable in PvP content. She's SS tier in PvP across the board. She's really useful in PvE content as well. Probably not as strong as others. She can do some work in Dragon. I've seen her do some work in Dragon in early game, mid game with her first form. She's really strong in faction wars as well, and that is about it. She can be good in niche content as well, like Hydra, for example, for the defense down or weaken. If you needed that, I know there's some people who are mid game and don't have that type of mechanics on their account, so they do generally use her. So for me, she is exceptional, but she is an absolute powerhouse in the arena, and arena does cover a lot of the areas that you want a mythical to tick. So for me, she's going to be on the bottom of SS tier because she is SS tier in the arena. She is a massive powerhouse in PvE content as well. She'll be really useful in Grim Forest with that defense down or weaken, but also bringing them poisons. She's also a turn meter increase as well. She can increase the turn meter of all allies as well as bringing True Fear, which can be useful for early game in Chimera as well. So for me, she is definitely going to be up there for sure. She'll probably be on the bottom of SS tier, but she is worth that for sure. Nice is going to be another one. Nice is, again, probably the best PvP champion in the game right now. One of the hardest champions that can be a massive carry for sure. I know there's a number of people who had really low win rates and now pulled Nice and doing a lot better than me in arena for win rates. He's basically a champion that only has one counter in his game, and there's the relics just make him really more broken. And I guess the relics what made him so crazy, as well as his passive as well. This guy can be a really good DPS champion as well in Hydra. He's got some high damage numbers in Hydra. He can also be great for crowd control on the waves, and he can solo a bunch of content as well. And he's definitely going to be someone that you want to take. He can also destroy max stats as well from bosses and whatnot, which is quite useful across the board. So for me, Nice also has to go in the SS tier, but he's going to be ahead in Now because I do feel like he is the next up from now. The reason why he's not going in the lead is because I do believe Tiosa is better than him in P vs E content, as well as him being better in P vs P. She is definitely one of the top 5 for P vs P and P vs E content, while he is only like a top 5 for Arena. Depending on who you ask, that a lot of people would include them in a top 3, if not top 1. For me, he is the top 1. He can solo Arena teams. You could win in the fight, and then Nice comes into the game, and it's game over for you, and it's night for sure. Now we have Abias down here, and Abias is a funny one because she is really acceptable in the arena. She's one of the best turn meter boost champions in this game, one of the biggest turn meter boosts. She brings a lot of utility with increase accuracy and increase attack. There's only champion that can do that other than Raglim as well. She can be really good in the P vs E content as well, like Chimera with the decreased speed and the burns, and she can be acceptable in the Hydra area as well. She's probably better in Chimera. She's definitely SS tier in her factions and the faction wars. It's kind of hard for me to put her in SS tier because I don't believe that she's on the same level as the other 3 in any other content. She is a bit niche. I would say she's probably a little bit behind Clamadus, I guess, in P vs E because of how hard he can hit in P vs E. So she definitely deserves to be in S tier, but I don't think she deserves to be up here. She can strip as well. She can increase the duration of buffs. So you know what? I feel like she has got a bit more utility than Clamadus. Clamadus is DPS, so I'm going to put her at the top of S tier, and then we're going to put Clamadus at the here as well. Now we have Mezamel. Mezamel for me is a interesting champion. She's a champion I've recently just bought, and she's been helping me quite a bit with Neve. Now, Mezamel is the only champion in this game than other 2 other champions, as far as I'm aware of and can think of right now, who can ignore block damage and unkillable in the same kit. And the other 2 is Rhodus and the Mythical from the Sacred Order, which we'll get to later. I don't think she's a top tier in any way. If you have a 6-star blessing, she can be used in Chimera. I think personally you're better off running Songwon and Marius in Faction Wars, to be honest, over her. I think she's very squishy. The Revive and Death doesn't offer a lot. I did a video on her recently on how to build, and she is a mythical that's shining on my account mainly against Neve. But if Neve wasn't in the game, I probably wouldn't have invested into her. So for me, she is doing a job against Neve, mainly against Neve and block damage and unkillable champions. Been using a little bit against Tiosa as well in the arena. And I do like her. I can't justify putting her into A tier because, you know, other than Chimera, I don't think I'd use her in P vs E. You know, if you're mid-game, late game, and you're struggling for DPS champions, you might throw in Hydra as a DPS champion. She can do some damage there, but a lot of the mythicals can do that there. So for me, she definitely goes there. I think that it's quite hard to kind of put her in the A category. I think she does need a buff, and that's why I can't put her in the A category. Can't say she's very strong. So she's niche. She can do a job. Big blessings really needed for her. Do I think that she's completely crap? Probably not, because there's only like 1 or 2 mythicals that I believe are completely crap, and I don't think she's there at the moment with her damage. So she does need a slight buff, not a big buff, a slight buff. Just needs like a swipeability mechanics and whatnot. Gallius. So Gallius was recently buffed. He was probably a niche mythical, but he was recently buffed. And for me right now, he is the best counter in the game to deal with Nice. He's definitely one of the most underrated champions at the moment because I do a lot of arena takeovers and I feel like he doesn't get the recommendation from it. He's also in the same faction as Marius, so a lot of people tend to build a Marius over him, and for sure I would still probably do that. But he does bring a lot of utility, so for me, he goes in the S tier. He's probably gonna. It's kind of hard to put him. He's easier to deal with than now, but they're all really hard to deal with because he can reflect the damage back from the reflection. He's immune to CC on a second form. He can still solo a ton of bosses like Phantom Shogun and Sand Devil, and he's probably going to be able to do that with other content as well. He's got a lot of utility for waves like crowd control, defense down, Termita, steel. He can also bring increased defense. He can also bring AoE provoke. He's a very acceptable champion. If you get him, you're going to be very happy. He's definitely probably top 5 damage dealer right now in P versus P, in my opinion, and I think he's gonna be up there. So it's an interesting one for sure, but I think he's really, really strong. Lady Mikage, she's probably like the second easiest mythical to get in the game for all of us, and she's still a very, very strong mythical. She's really good of wave-based clearing with the AoE stun. She strips, she could increase the duration of buffs, brings increased attack with critical rate as well, and critical damage. She has a mini A1 with ally attack with Shadow King, which enables a lot of damage dealers to do a lot of extra damage, like Toshia and Ninja. So for me, she is really, really good in Hydra and Chimera. Faction Wars, you know, she's really good against bosses as well with all the utility that she brings. It's really hard to kind of decide where she can go. For me, she's going to go in the A category. I feel like she's a bit underwhelming in the arena as an in-game area for arena. You do see it every now and again. She is good against lockout because she's got the second form on the side of the CC. I don't think she needs a buff. I think she's very, very strong across the board. I don't really use mine anywhere right now other than Faction Wars, unfortunately. Just for Hydra and Chimera, I have better teams. And I do for a user in Grim Forest, but haven't seen a lot of playtime in Grim Forest for me. She is in my Faction War team, of course, and I think she would be in any account, to be honest. I don't think she's on the same level as these two in terms of P versus E and P versus P. So it's a really hard one. She could arguably be in S tier for sure, but it's going to be very, very difficult. So moving on then, we've got her faction mate, I guess we can call him. For me, he's acceptable. He's a really good DPS champion. He's definitely top 3 DPS for Hydra and Chimera when she start taking away the Trunda and the Titus and all them type of stupid comps that you have, or cheese comps as we should call them. And if they was to be nerfed, he would be the best DPS as far as I'm aware of in PvC content. So there's no imagination there. If you pair him with Lady M, he is definitely S tier in my opinion, because the damage he can do across the board in the two contents is pretty nuts. He's also really, really strong for nuking the waves and really strong for dealing with the faction war boss as well. I had the privilege of doing a takeover with him on Shadow King, and he just absolutely destroyed the boss and whatnot. He's a really, really strong. I do feel like he's a bit stronger than Lady Mikage, and I feel like he would get playtime when she's not going to get a lot of playtime. Or for me to use Lady Mikage, I feel like Toshia would be needed for me to use her for sure. So it's one of them ones. Maybe I don't use her in Chimera because I don't have a good blessing on my ninja, which is what I'm working on now. And maybe that's why I feel like she's A tier. Maybe I feel like she should be higher potentially, but for now I'm gonna leave her in A tier. I think that would be one place where a lot of people would disagree with me, and that's fine, but that's just how I'm kind of gonna look at her. So we have Flaro Fireheart. I think she's going to be the first champion for me in C tier, which is basically crap. I don't like the use of the word crap, but I feel like when you get her, you're going to have other mythicals that can just do a job better as a nuker, or even legendaries that can nuke harder than her and do the job more consistent. How hard it is to get a blessing, which is the only way, is to get lucky for soul stones, and then how many books she requires. I don't think a second form is bad, but there isn't really any content where a second form really shines at the moment. I feel like the first form has potential, but it needs a massive rework on the kit and needs a massive buff for sure. I think that just having a mythical who looks nice but doesn't do anything is not good for the game or good for accounts. And how much work that she takes to get is very underwhelming to get. I can understand why people don't want to clear Faction Wars hard mode, because the biggest reward that you're going to get from there is a mythical that sucks really, really hard, and probably the weakest mythical across the board. For me, next we have Our Lady Bloodmoor. Bloodmoor's got some good utility in the second form, but I feel like she had a big problem when Hydra was released. Now, she's a really good damage dealer for Faction Wars, but outside Faction Wars, it's really hard to give her any playtime. She is really solid in Hydra as a damage dealer, but her damage is not like super crazy like other mythicals like Clamidus and Toshira, which she should be on the same level as them. And the Hydra nerf definitely made her life a lot worse than it was. I do feel like she's a bit more useful as her, but it's not as maybe as useful as Mezamal. I think it's really hard with this, but for me, I've got a good reason to use Mezamal. She doesn't add anything to my roster for Arena other than ignoring Killable. Ignoring Lockout, because she can flip, and then the Nuke Inside is on the second form. But she has no increased attack. She doesn't ignore Stone Skin, doesn't bring any utility to herself. She's very, very squishy, and when she's dead, she's dead. So for me, she needs a buff, right? She was one of the strongest mythicals in the game when she was released, and she was running around the arena a lot for the Go Second meta. But after that, we haven't really seen her at all. So she's definitely one of the mythicals that is one of the worst mythicals in the game. I do feel like she's in a different league from Fireheart. Through Fireheart, it's a lot worse than her for sure, but I can't put her in the same league as Mezamal because her content, which was Hydra, has been completely changed altogether. So for me, she goes in a C tier. I feel like she needs a big buff for sure. Then we have Ashnar. Ashnar was pretty much one of the worst mythicals in the game. In a lot of people's opinions, is very, very niche against like Gizmak and Sulfurion, which are really meta champions in Arena. But right now, I feel like he's very, very strong across the board. And it's insane that we're going to put him ahead on Nice. But I don't think people realize how strong he is on overall on a kit. Both kits are insanely strong, right? Now, the reason why I've put him that high is he's in a lot of world record teams because of his second form, I think it is. Me and Fabian, we did a video on him in one of the Trunda world record teams set at the time. He's basically has one of the biggest turn meter boosts in the game with the turn meter boost of 30%. He also brings a HE burn and a weaken. If you have a Krogo cube with him, he can basically do a turn meter boost, HE burn, and then basically pop every single stone skin in the game. In the arena, he's the only champion that can do that. Other than Sulfurion, I guess, can do a 20% on a activation. So really, really strong first form for Arena. and can really increase his damage a lot from this. Then he has this type of passive as well. So he is a really, really good. He also has godlike multipliers on all of his abilities. This goes a godlike multiplier. He'll get both hits will ignore 20% of the target defense. He'll apply a spread, which is super, super broken in Hydra. He's not bad in Chimera as well. He can definitely be useful. He's a massive carry in Faction Wars. He has a defense down on E1, which is really good against Faction Wars. He has increased defense, increased critical damage. He's buffing your whole team in damage, as well as increasing self. And then he's bringing a AoE provoke as well. So places a provoke for 1 turn. If the target of the skill is a boss, places a provoke debuff for 2 turns instead, which is really, really S tier against Hydra. And then he is basically going to offer you AoE provoke as well. This attack cannot be a weak hit, whereas attacking enemies under a burn debuff, he brings that burn debuff. All of his champion skills will ignore additional 20% of the target defense if they're under a HE burn. So basically this is a 40% ignore defense ability. He is just absolutely crazy strong. I use him all the time in the arena against Nice and Star Sage, which if I'm facing Star Sage and I'm facing Nice on the same team, I like to take Ashnar against both of them because the damage he can do is so exceptionally good. I do use Sulfurion with him, and just that Sulfurion does give him a big boost. But I feel like he's stronger than all 3 of these champions in PvC content, and he's not on the same level as these 3 in the arena, or these 4, but he definitely counters the Gizmak and whatnot, which is a very hard-hitting champions, and Volcanis as well, which is an absolute nightmare in the arena. So he's up there with Marishka when you're using them type of champions. For sure, for me, he is going second. It's what I mentioned, like Tiosa is the same as well. She brings damage increase on the passives for these type of world record teams as well. Ashnar was the champion to use before she came out, and now she's kind of doing that as well, which is really strong. We have the new champion from Lizardman, and no one has him at the moment. It's basically, I can't pronounce that name, but we're going to call him Reborn. He's got an interesting kit, you know, like his defense base, HP. We don't know much information on him, like we don't know how hard he hits and whatnot, because there's not much information on him about all this. For me, from reading this kit, and this is what we're going to judge him on, we're going to judge him from reading his kit. I can't put him in the same category as Lady M. Can't put him in. I don't see him being used in Hydra. You know, his kit kind of looks like a Hydra Chimera champion, which to be honest is really underwhelming. Obviously my opinion might change on him if he has some crazy multipliers, and obviously we don't know that information at the moment, the time of this recording. So I'm judging him from his base kit. I don't think he offers me much. I think he has to go behind Mesmo, unfortunately. I do think he's got a bit more to his kit than Fireheart and her, but some better utility. I just can't put him in the same category as this. So for me, he's definitely gonna have to go there for sure. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I can't put him in the same category really. Lazarius, man, this guy, Lazarius, I mean, he could go here or he can go here. I'm gonna put him here. I think he's SS tier, right? He's kind of fallen out of arena a little bit. I don't really tend to use him that much in arena, but he can be a wild card for sure. Now, I think if I had a 6-star blessing for him, I would use him a bit more in the arena because he does bring that 10 meter boost, which is really good. as well as decreasing the duration. He also brings increased attack and strengthen for his whole team. He does bring block buffs and remove buffs on the E2, as well as place some block debuffs, which is SS tier. He's got amazing revive, one of the best revives in the game, with the passive. His 8-1 is not too bad. And then he does an AoE lockout if he kills the ally on the second form, as well as increasing his own critical damage and critical rate. He also increases his own accuracy on the first form. He steals turn meter on the E2, on the E3 on the second form, and the E1 is not too bad. He is basically SS tier in Faction Wars. He brings you the revives, CC, the crowd control, the damage, the boost. It brings everything. He's going to be one of the first champions for sure for Grim Forest on your roster because of the utility he brings against waves as a hard hitting damage dealer. But then against the bosses, the utility he brings as a revive, the strip, the block buffs, the increased turn meter. He's just absolutely sensational. And I wish I did use him a bit more. And I think, again, if I had the 6-star, I probably would use him more. I do use him on Siege and defenses as well for like Magic Room only as a turn meter boost champion. So I do definitely swap up his gear a lot. I feel like he's at the bottom of SS tier, and I feel like he's higher than S tier because I feel like he does do more utility than Abbias, the Clamodas, the Toshira. So for me, yeah, he's definitely a champion that you're gonna really, really want. And again, he is one of my first champions on the roster, one of my top 5 champions that I want in my Curse City roster. So, you know, I was missing gear off my Python the other day for Faction Wars. I basically had no gear on him. This is the hardest content in the game. I barely had any gear on Igmo, and he's still done Faction Wars on hard mode by flipping in and out of the second forms. He is a absolutely insane champion. So for me, Lazarius is up there. He is still one of the best turn meter boost champions in the game as well, and does bring a speed aura and everything on top of that. That's just a bonus for sure. Then we have Catrixia. Catrixia is a funny one because I know there's a lot of people that don't like Catrixia and maybe they prefer the Fabians and whatnot. I think for me, she's a very, very good champion. She can bring reset for your whole team. She can do lockout. She can do block buffs, decrease turn meter, increase turn meter. She does bring a resistance lead. She brings a resistance buff as well as block buffs. She has a lot of good utility, but you don't normally see her in PvC content. She can be really, really SS tier for Faction Wars for sure, but you're not really seeing her in Chimera and Hydra. She does need a bit more in a kit for them areas, but she's not a champion as I think that she needs a buff. She is S tier in the arena because she deals with a lot of these champions, especially like her and Star Sage. So I feel like she deserves to be in the S category. She does do strips and whatnot. I think she's weaker than a bias in PvC content, but I think she brings a bit more utility than these two because these two are damage dealers. So I think she deserves to go in the middle of S tier here. I think Abbias is still better for arena and whatnot, but it's kind of hard to say that Catrixia is better for arena than Abbias. It's really hard because they're both completely different champions and they both would be built completely different. Like Abbias, you'll be building the fastest. Catrixia, maybe not building her as fastest, depending on your playstyle. But she's very, very good. And she's a massive counter to Fabian, for sure. Now, we have Embrus next. Embrus is in the same faction as her. He's definitely one of the best nukers in the game for PvP. He's definitely top 5 for PvP nuker. He can solo a bunch of content like Phantom Shogun with really good blessings. He can deal with Phantom Sun Devil as well. He can definitely do that. He can do some soloing as well for Night Rev's 21 boss as well. He's a very searchable nuker. He's the only champion in the game that can remove Stones again without require accuracy or the 50-50 strip. Basically, then a counter is weak hits or lightning cage. He can do a lot of work on the wave-based clearing as well, with like the AoE fear, just bring decreased attack. He does cycle through his turns very, very quickly because he has a lot of extra turns in his mechanics for low cooldowns. So he's a very searchable champion across the board. So for me, I think he's gonna go in the bottom of SS tier, just before what he can do in the arena. I feel like we don't know as much as he can do in P vs E content, because mainly we look at him as a P vs P champion. He is exceptionally strong. He's only one of a few champions where if you don't get a blessing for him, you're still going to build him for arena anyway, most likely, depending on your rosters. I mean, if you have a single mythical in the game on your account, or most of the mythicals, then maybe you won't. And that's only people I know that don't really build them straight away, or people with insane rosters for arena. But even then, I think they do definitely change their mind once they get slapped by him a few times. He has a really searchable revive on death as well with his passive, and reflecting a lot of damage back, which can kill a bunch of nukers like Sigford and whatnot. Brings a block revive as well on E1. He's only champion in the game that brings like a necrosis buff as well, which is super useful. So for me, he goes at the bottom of SS tier for sure. I think he's definitely better than Lazarius in the arena, but I think Lazarius has more utility across the board. And to be honest, I think Lazarius, now thinking about it, deserves to be slightly higher than both of these two as well, because I feel like they've got some niche uses in PvCE where his use is not so niche. Like if you get him for you're going to build him in 9-piece protection for Hydra, he's going to make 9 out of 10 Hydra teams on most accounts in one of your 3 teams. He can be acceptable in Chimera. I've made a video on him as Chimera, as like that revive role at Duchess or Eva would play, but bring in some other utility as well. So for me, he's really good. Star Sage, wow. He's top 3 arena champion in the game. I think he's the top reviver in the game. One of the best crowd control champions in the game. He's one of the best strip champions in the game. I think he is going to be number 1. I think if you could want any mythical, it's going to be him in P vs P or P vs E. I drive one of the accounts, and one of the accounts I got him on for the weakest account I got him for live arena driving I do. He'd generally change the season halfway through, and I was able to increase the win rate by 6%, taking the account from 58 to 64% in that. Now that is big, you know, like space of 2 weeks, was able to bring me a 6% increase on the takeover. And he was basically there. Lazarius was also there as well. But this guy, he can do everything. Like there isn't a content in the game where he is not going to be. You know, like if you had to start this game off fresh and you were going to get given one mythical, Star Sage would be the man for that, right? Rock Bluffs, Cleanse as well. Like the only thing this guy can't do is nuke. That's the only thing he can't do. So for me, he's a searchable champion and my most wanted mythical in the game. Okay, so we do have this champion next. It's a hard one where he goes. He's a hard one. He's got a good set of utility to him. You know, his first form is pretty. It's not bad, you know. He can do fine. He can help you in finite, you know, hard modes. He can be very niche in the arena against champions like Sulfurion and whatnot, and freeze them, you know, to stop them trying to do the burns and whatnot. He's a bit RNG with that, but he can definitely work. I think he's a little bit underrated against the Sulfurions and stuff. He's going to be very, very good in Grim's Forest when you need a freeze champion. He's bringing you that block of bluffs. He's bringing that increased speed. He's bringing that reset as well. He can be used in Chimera and Hydra as a reset champion as well. He's useful in Faction Wars as well, for the utility of block buffs and the freeze for the waves. Yeah, he's strong. I think he's stronger than some of the champions. I feel like the buff wasn't enough for him, and they should have really made the second form a lot stronger. So for me, he's going to go in A tier. I don't think he needs another buff straight away. I think there's mythicals here that need a bigger buff than him. But it's gonna be up there. Now Carnage is a free champion. He's very hard to get as a free champion. Out of all of the mythicals, I think he's probably going to be the second hardest mythical to get. I think that the Grim Forest mythical will be easier to get than Carnage potentially. It's really hard to kind of to say. Maybe you're getting around about the same time. You do get a 6-star blessing for him in the content. It took me well over a year and a half to get that content, to get that. I mean, I had to wait like, what, 9 months just for the 5-star blessing. And it was a bit stupid, to be honest. He is a really hard hitter against bosses in Curse City. The minute you start putting debuffs out on the boss, he is getting a massive damage increase. He also is the only champion in the game or in the mythicals that has 5 out of 6 godlike multipliers. He has the second biggest speedor in the game as well, the biggest one if you're not counting Odin. He is a crazy strong champion. I don't think he's broken. The problem is trying to get him into the arena fights. But once you get into an arena fights, he pretty much closes down the teams pretty quickly and cause a lot of problems. He's the same faction as he's in the same faction as everyone else. And yeah, for me, I think he deserves to be in an S tier. I think he deserves to be on the bottom. He could be really, really strong in Chimera if you have a 6-star blessing. I think if you had a great haul for Chimera, he would be a lot higher on this list because a lot more people would use him. He could be doing crazy damage in Hydra as well for the second form. He is a carry for Faction Wars, which is a great to have. And he's really, really good in Arena as well. He brings crowd control with non-resistible debuffs that can't basically be cleansed. So for me, really, really good champion. Really good synergy with Volcanis, which is one of the best arena nukers in the game. Definitely top 10 nuker in the game for arena for sure. Maybe top 15, depending on how you look at it as. For sure. Now we have his faction mate, Commodus. Now Commodus is mainly a arena champion. He's my best mythical champion for arena. Now he does bring a strip on the first form with a block type of skill, which can be 50-50 against Stone Skin. And he might be really strong against his Total Guard set because he can steal Turn Meter. So he's gonna basically take 2 stacks of the 3 stacks on Total Guard. And he can cycle through his hit from Form 1, Form 2 aggressively fast. I think he's alright for PvE content for wave base. He does a mini lockout, which is only a single, not AoE, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I don't think most people will use him in PvE because his bomb damage won't do enough because of the HP and whatnot. So it's a hard one, but I think like Carnage is a better champion than Commodus overall in PvE content because you can use him against bosses. I won't use Commodus against bosses. And I'm trying not to look on this as a arena point of view. Now, a lot of these arena champions can be basically common. I mean, Nice maybe doesn't deserve to be up here when you look at everything, but Nice can solo bosses, right? And that's amazing. So, I mean, no one wants to play this game on Mangle, right? So for faction ones, you can solo boss. Amazing, get him in there. Common just can't do that. Common just brings debuffs. He's in my faction one team because he brings debuffs for Carnage to hit harder. That's the bombs on the boss, that's it. So for me, very, very strong champion. This is the new champion from Dark House. She's got an interesting kit. I haven't seen any content on her, any showcases on her yet from the time this video is recorded. From what I've seen, I'm not too impressed, if I'm being honest. She's got a pretty nice kit. She's got any max HP hit on the second form on the A2. She does bring quite a few debuffs. I feel like she's more of a Chimera champion from a kit, but I don't see her as being really good in the arena. So for me, you know, like I want a bit more from my champions other than Chimera, especially when they're red. So for me, I think she goes in a B tier. That could potentially change in the future. But yeah, I think that's where she kind of lives. And then we have this girl. She's from Demon Spawn as well. I can't remember her name. Not a lot of people use her. Necrosis. I think that's how you pronounce the name. You know, she's not a bad champion. No, she places Inkillable on all allies that finish champion for 2 turns, which is definitely interesting. There's not many champions that can put this debuff out, which is basically like a damage reduction. She does remove all debuffs from all allies as well, which is pretty nice, and places a shield. She does bring a AoE as well on A1, which can be quite useful. I think a lot of people use her second form more. You know, she gives herself a shatter buff, which is extra ignore defense of 15% with True Fear. Gains herself extra turn with a critical rate buff. She has AoE weaken and a non-resistible strip. And then she has A1 here, which is an enemy max HP hit. It doesn't do much, but she does get a damage increase every time an ally is dead. I don't think she's got really high base stats as well behind me. I don't think that she is bad as what people make out for her. She definitely doesn't need Savage. I did give her a really bad rating for the showcase I did with her at a time, but I faced her a few times in live arena with Volcanus teams. She has caused me some problems before. You know, she can be a little bit RNG. I feel like she still needs a bit more to her kit, but I don't feel like she's a worse mythical in the list. So I'm gonna put her in an A tier. I think there's other mythicals that need buffs before her. I think she's very, very useful. Sure. Right, Hive Lord. Wow. This guy did get a buff. For sure. And to be honest, I think he's still quite underwhelming. And it's disappointing. Now, there is a few areas where he's good. So he has, at the moment, as far as I'm aware of, I'm sure someone will tell me I'm wrong in the comments if I am wrong. He is the highest, he has the world record in Chimera for the highest trials, not damage, trials team. So he's one of the 5 champions that you would want. However, you do need the 6-star blessing to enable that. He does bring a lot. He does bring a lot of crowd control and a lot of healing and whatnot on a second form, like AoE stun and an AoE provoke, which doesn't weaken it because it's placed. And he does bring a stun on a passive as well, which is like 35% chance. I did take him into Grim Forest. I haven't used much of him at the moment. But he does bring burns and increase attack for the team as well. So there is some good utility there. I do use him in Faction Wars as well. And I'll be honest, he was a carry for Faction Wars. So he is really, really strong. I don't think he deserves to be in this category. I also don't think he deserves to be any higher than this. So that's one thing that I'm going to kind of say there. is a little bit disappointing. I still think he needs a bit more to his kit, but for now, I don't think he's the weakest mythical there. Lazarius, not Lazarius, Jesus, Alaz. This guy, he's pretty cool, man. I don't think that this guy gets the credit that he deserves. He was in the arena meta for a while. He is still the hardest hitting defense-based nuker with his ability. He does increase his defense. He has a really hard hitting ability here. He does bring some utility with this ability here with AoE counterattack, which is great for like Fire Knights and whatnot. It's really good for Chimera and Hydra as well, especially with the AI being fixed on the provoke. He does have a really hard hitting ability here, ignore shields and whatnot. He does have an interesting passive. He has got really good base stats. His base defense is a bit low, but you know, it's not too bad. And he's also HP based. Like this form is not too bad. He has AoE here. He brings like a True Fear and HE Burn, which can activate as well against Stone Skin. So he can break Stone Skin with this ability. And then he can bring increased resistance and strengthen buff and fully restore all allies with max HP damage. He's a really, really strong champion. He's strong for arena. He's not SS tier, but I think he deserves to be on the list across the board. I do think he's got better utility than Commodus in the PvE content, and I think he is a lot better than that. And to be honest, I feel like he might be higher than Carnage potentially. Yeah, I feel like you have to give it to him. I think it's hard to kind of say who's better out of these two. I'm going to leave Carnage ahead of him because I know how hard Carnage hits on PvE. And he does hit there. The Hydra nerve really hurt him. And that's why we're going to drop him lower than that. Carnage can still do insane damage against Hydra for sure. So for me, he deserves to be, yeah, he deserves to be there. Now I'm looking at this list. I'm gonna bring Lady M up. I'm gonna bring Lady M up, and I'm gonna drop Commodus here. He's not great in PvE content. She is better in PvE than him. So for me, I'm gonna swap these two around. It breaks my heart to put Commodus here, but I'm going to try and look outside the box. And I'm going to swap these two around. Androck. After his buff, this guy is absolute sensational. He has a crazy first form, a crazy second form. I think he's one of my best PvE champions on my accounts. If I had a 6-star blessing for him, I could use him as a 2-meter boost champion as well in the arena. Unfortunately, I don't, so I can't use him because he does have a 50% 2-meter boost, which would be really, really strong with the resistance buff and whatnot. His passive is incredibly strong. He's got a buff increase as well. He's got a strip on a second form with a block debuffs and the enfeeble, which is really, really good. He's S tier in Hydra, Chimera, Faction Wars, anywhere really that's PvE. He's going to be one of your first one there. He was one of the first ones with Lazarius for that. And how good I think he is in PvE content. I think he deserves to be at the bottom of SS tier. I really, really do. I think that a lot of people don't put him in the same category as this because he's not so S tier in arena. But if you have a 6-star blessing for him, he's going to be your 6-star team presence 2-meter boost champion if you want to run a speed teams. And for sure, he can bring some utility for Go Second as well. So I have seen a couple in arena and he have caused me some issues every time I faced him. And most of the time it has been a 6-star blessing as well. I feel like a lot of people don't give him the respect that he deserves in PvP because no one uses him in PvP as a content creators, and I think content creators kind of set up the tone of the champions a lot, especially big content creators or well-known PvP content creators. And for sure, if I had 6-star Blessing, I'd be running him in my arena teams for sure, because the utility he brings is amazing. Alright, so we have this new champion, and I can't pronounce her name. Let me see what her name is. She's a Bannerlord, Jola. She has an Unkillable with a revive. I really like the revive. It's really sexy with an instant turn. She brings increased attack with a turn meter boost as well with a resistance buff, which is nice for P vs E and P vs P. She can do a deeper spread on E1. She has a resistance aura in all battles of 80. It's incredibly amazing as well. And then, wow, what's the second form that she has? Wow, this champion has it all. She does double damage to counter attacking. She does AoE on A1, which is absolutely insane. I don't think I've seen it tested in Hydra yet, but this will be a hard hitting Hydra ability because it's going to counter single hits and ignores the passive against AoE reduction, which I haven't seen anyone test her yet for that, but I would like to test her there one day. She does AoE, and before attacking, she steals 10 meter, which is incredible. She places block damage on the champion for 2 turns, so she has a great swipeability mechanics. And then she has a really hard hitting A3 as well, which ignores block damage and killable and shields. So she definitely joins Mesamal with this ability, but it's a single nuke, not a AoE. And she can place a block revive as well, which is crazy. And if this target isn't killed by and grants extra skill. What absolute kit. And then she puts counter attack on herself as well. So she's enabling that A1 to do double damage. Yeah, absolutely incredible kit. Really good. And the nuke form is on the second form, not on the first form, which makes her stronger. You haven't seen a lot on her right now because she's just not up there. And she's fairly new. She's only been in game a month. I think that she goes here because she's going to be very good in PvE content as well. And I just don't feel like anyone knows how good she is at the moment because a lot of people that do have her probably haven't played around with her enough or even receive a blessing for her yet. So there hasn't been a 2x event yet for Soulstones, and I think that's why we haven't seen a lot of her yet. I think in the next couple of months, I would love to see a guaranteed event. I'm still spending money on shards personally myself, but they do a guaranteed event for her for like 120 primals. For sure, I would pick her up because she would be really, really good. Gizmak. Wow, what a champion this guy is. He brings a lot to the table. Gizmak is a superb support champion, but he's a really, really S tier nuker in the arena and outside arena. He's really S tier everywhere. He can bring burns, a low utility. He brings increased speed, increased critical rate. And she brings increased critical damage, which is really good as he's a HP nuker. He hits really, really hard, has ignore defense basically built in his kit. He has a non-resistible defense down if the enemies are under burns, which you can pair up for PvE. You don't see much of him in PvE, and he's definitely not as strong as these champions on here for PvE content. So for me, Androck is definitely better in PvE content than Gizmak and has a lot more use. But you can't deny how much of a carrier he is for PvP. And yeah, I think if you get any of these champions on this list for PvP, you'll got a massive carry on your hands for sure. So for me, it's pretty much up there. Then we have Sigford. Sigford still has the hardest hitting nuke in the game on E3. He's really good in PvP and PvE. I think he's seen a lot of decrease in the arena, but he's still a really good counter to bombs and whatnot in Ferald. He can offer you a revive and cleanse and save your whole team basically from destruction in PvSE. He's really good at clearing waves and whatnot. Do I think he is as good as these other areas here? A lot of these champions up here counter him pretty hard. So I'm going to put him at the bottom of SS tier. I think potentially, you're putting him here. Potentially. Yeah, I think potentially you're putting him here. He's for me, I still have him on my account. I love him. He's one of my mainly used mythicals on my account for PvSP. I don't use him in PvSE because everything's built for PvSP and I don't change anything out. He's definitely still one of your first champions for Grim Forest and whatnot. And he's a really, really strong champion for sure. Then we have another dwarf here, which will be the last champion on today's tier list. And he's a really, really strong champion, a very strong nuker, can do some damage. He's got a cool passive. He's an absolute nightmare to face for Faction Wars. It's not Faction Wars, for Grim Forest. That passive on second form is crazy. However, I feel overall he doesn't really hit hard enough for Faction Wars. I think like there's other champions that are better than him for Faction Wars, which are legendary. One of them being Frowny. I found Frowny to be incredible. I feel like you need a 6-star, and even then it's questionably if he hits hard enough or not. It's just disappointing. He needs like a lot of time to build up. And when you're facing Queen and Cora, you don't have that time to build up the damage because you've got a one-shot straight away. Frowny can do that. He can't, as far as I'm aware of. And I still think he's still one of the worst mythicals in the game. So for me, he's going to be in C tier. Unfortunately, I still think he's better than these two. But I can't say that he deserves to be in the B tier. So yeah, and now looking back at this, it is a interesting roster. Would I make any changes to this? It's really hard. I think there's a lot of mythicals that bear and other champions in each content. I think Nice could come down a little bit to Lazarius overall. I think Lazarius might just offer a bit more in PvSE. Yeah, I think for me, yeah, I think, you know what? I think that I'm going to bring him up a little bit more. I think I'm going to drop these two down a bit more here. Yeah. For me, this is order that I think I'm pretty happy with this. It's a hard one. You can say that now could be down here with Empress as well and Gizmak. Maybe even Endrock. Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. I've used a lot of these mythicals and I enjoy a lot of these mythicals for sure. I guess that is it for the video, guys. Let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with me. And again, where do you use these champions? That is it from me today. This is my tier list for December 2025. I'm kind of looking forward to do this again in 2026 to see and how much this will change in Raidshadowlegends. Please buff Fireheart. And yeah, let me know down in the comments if you agree. As usual, guys, hopefully you enjoy this. Sorry it's a long video, just over an hour. I know you guys like to watch in the background, so why not? As usual, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been Grim. This is my tier list. I'll see you next one. Take care. Peace.